A ham on the lamb goes on a rampage, leaving people dumbfounded.
You know, you didn't even have time to look around. It happened so quick, and he just hit me and bowled me over.
A festive felon makes a break for freedom.
Shock and awe, I think is what George Bush would have called it.
And there's only one man who can rein in a runaway reindeer.
There were people making jokes about, ask Santa, he'll know how to catch it.
A bumbling brute is in a treetop standoff,
And I could, sure enough, see there was a big bear in the tree.
which sends the four-pawed perp into a free fall.
And the bear just hit the ground with a bang, really hard.
We've brought wild animals into our world, in zoos, on farms, and as pets. We think we have them under control. But what happens when these creatures break loose and become animal fugitives? Fort Worth, Texas, home of the famous Longhorn Cattle Drive. It's July 14th, 2006. Heather Wilson is on her way to work. As a livestock manager at the Humane Society, she's got a driving mission.
We take care of the animals. That's our main priority.
But her priorities are about to change.
I got a call from our cruelty division indicating that there had been an animal in downtown Fort Worth.
The police have the neighborhood locked down. A fugitive is on the loose and is backed up against the wall. With enforcement closing in, this vagabond has only one option: to charge.
To our surprise, this wild hog with a bed headboard came out at us very aggressively.
One feral hog. There are an estimated 2 million wild feral hogs in Texas alone. With numbers on the rise, the pigs are being forced into residential areas where they cause havoc. They've a powerful bite and can be extremely aggressive.
So immediately we backed up with all of our equipment.
So when the board bolts, Heather isn't taking any chances.
You don't find this in the outskirts of downtown Fort Worth.
And she's not the only one getting jumpy. This pig is hopping mad.
It's doing whatever it can to attempt to get this off.
A snout to the fence seems to do the trick. Capturing the action from the safety of the road is news cameraman Tom Ream.
He was definitely going hog wild. He did not want to be captured.
As the pig barrels through the barrier, there's a chance the situation will spiral out of control.
We got to be careful here because this is a really big pig and he's a little bit upset, and there is now an element of danger to this.
The breakaway boar hits the streets with a vengeance.
I knew that I needed to get the camera off the tripod and get it on my shoulder and start running after this pig.
The wild porker is on the loose, and only one person stands in its way.
So now that the pig is out in the open, my immediate reaction is I have to change his direction.
Heather distracts the pig and finds herself one-on-one with a kamikaze hog.
This was my first encounter with a feral hog. It was almost as if it was kind of in slow motion. You know, you didn't even have time to look around. It happened so quick, and he just hit me and bowled me over.
With the bacon-backed beast taking on all comers, it's clear no one is safe.
This is getting serious, and someone could get hurt out here. And I hate to say it, but I was hoping that someone wasn't going to be me.
With tensions rising, the cops pull out a special bit of kit they hope will cool the situation down.
The officers had a noose pole, and they were trying to get the noose around the pig's head.
But this pig-headed porker won't be strung up so easily.
We were just going in circles, running around and around and around. And I just remember thinking, there's no way they're ever going to catch this pig.
Essentially, what we were trying to do is create a human fence.
A human fence that has too many holes in it.
He was on the lam, and he did not want to go down easy. He did not want to be caught.
One cop isn't taking any chances with the wily critter.
One of the officers grabbed a wooden pallet and was using the pallet to, I assume, keep the pig from running down onto Northeast 28th Street.
Not intimidated, the hooved hoodlum charges the cop. The situation is becoming sour. At last, after 3 hours of huffing and puffing, the pig is starting to run out of steam. Heather jumps back into the fray.
He's becoming slower and slower, which made it a little bit easier, in our strategy.
The plan is to snare the animal with a noose pole and then let it tire itself out. Even after arrest, it won't be hogtied so easily.
Then they had their next challenge, and that was trying to get the pig from the noose and get him contained into the carrier they had brought.
But stuffing this porker into a small cage isn't easy.
I don't believe they had the necessary equipment in dealing with an animal such as this.
Unable to squeeze this beast into the box, the officers use gravity against their detainee. And with a few final grunts, this bit of bacon is going home. As for Heather, this experience has made her sure of one thing.
I just don't like pigs. This is a story I will certainly never forget. It's one of those things that you can tell your friends from this point on that you actually got handed your butt by a pig.
In this wild hog chase, the pig is firmly in the driver's seat. Up next, a sea creature who loves being in control takes the wheel. Newport Beach, California. A crew of harbor cops have themselves a stowaway. Busted. This flippered fugitive may be a fish out of water, but the salty sea lion is going to try to make a break for it. Kiss my whiskers, matey. I'm out of here.
Steer the boat, Tracy.
He mans the wheel. Hard starboard.
Watch your
This
control,
boat's
Tracy.
a
Watch your
rocket.
control.
Let's see what a fin to the throttle will do.
Watch your control, Tracy. Watch your controls. He doesn't dump in reverse.
Luckily, the good ship Harbor Cop doesn't run aground. And even though this boat isn't going anywhere, this skipper still checks the horizon from the comfort of the captain's chair. Ahoy there, matey. He's back at the helm, this time as a navigator.
He's checking out our location on the GPS.
But the only place this sea dog's going is back into the drink. After his nautical romp, this mischievous mammal is returned to the wild. As this slippery shipmate can attest, it's not just domestic animals on the loose that can give cops a hard time. It's 2 weeks before Christmas in Santa Maria, California. Cowboy Bob Aquistapachi is busy ranching when he gets a call for help that leaves his jaw on the floor.
Shock and awe, I think is what George Bush would have called it.
Bob's loose-limbed lasso skills are required to rope a runaway on a nearby strawberry farm.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. There was an uncomfortable silence, and I just kind of said, okay, I'm on my way.
If he thinks that delivering this festive fugitive is going to be easy, he's in for a holiday surprise. Wanted: reindeer. Reindeer are normally found in large herds roaming the Arctic tundra. But this is California, not the North Pole. This reindeer has been busy delighting children at a Christmas tree lot. As the 9-year-old female was being loaded onto a trailer, bound for another farm, she bolted. Roping reindeer isn't Bob's specialty.
I got real close to roping a deer once. Tried to rope a couple of elk, but never a reindeer.
When Bob arrives at the farm, he's greeted by total chaos.
There were field workers that were chasing after him, trying to rope him with just normal ropes. There were people chasing him around on bicycles.
But their efforts are in vain.
All they were really doing was just scaring this poor thing.
Documenting this Christmas story from the sidelines is news cameraman Ross Gracia.
There were people making jokes about, ask Santa, he'll know how to catch it.
The pursuit has become a festive farce. Trapping the footloose fool is going nowhere, so the owners changed their approach. They try to seduce her with another reindeer.
So they brought the other reindeer out, hoping its instincts would kick in. They were thinking that the first reindeer would come over to the second reindeer.
Will this be a match made in heaven?
That didn't really work out so well.
Apparently, this reindeer's not the loving kind. Spurning her blind date, the antlered absconder turns tail and heads for the nearest roadway. One that's filled with cars and pedestrians in the heat of the holiday rush. Cowboy Bob Aquistapache is watching a holiday breakout unfold. The situation calls for a hero. Bob gallops in to save the day. Riding within an antler's length of the deer, Bob prepares to lasso the caribou.
And as I was hoping to get in behind it to be able to rope it, he grabbed another gear and took off. Those things are faster than any deer I've ever seen. They're faster than most coyotes I've tried to chase.
Reindeer are excellent runners. At full pelt, they can top 50 miles per hour. So that's how Santa delivers those Christmas gifts so quickly.
It was definitely a good kickoff for the Christmas season. It's a reindeer in the middle of town and a cowboy chasing it.
Wonder turns to horror when the news shooter sees where the jolly old juggernaut is headed. The reindeer hops the tracks.
This is a very busy area and probably the worst place you want a wild animal running around. There's cars going down the road all the time. There's a park where there's people. There's schools around here.
Standing directly in the path of the careening caribou are two unsuspecting pedestrians. Wild reindeer aren't an everyday occurrence in Santa Maria, and these locals are trying to get a better look. But they're about to feel the full force of the Arctic Express.
So close. It really almost hit him.
Curiosity almost killed these cats.
That's when everybody knew that this became sort of a dangerous situation.
The runaway reindeer moves into a residential area, and the local police step in to try to get a handle on this devious deer.
We were chasing reindeer and such, and it got here within these streets. And there were several cop cars who had blockaded that road.
Bob rides in and lassos the cornered reindeer, bringing the festive pursuit to an end.
I kind of noticed that there was this very convenient light post here. I wrapped the rope around this post.
Looks like Christmas won't be coming early this year after all. It's lights out for the runaway reindeer. With her sleigh mate already on board, it's time to send this reindeer packing. But shifting a 200-pound twitching deer isn't easy. After a couple final tugs, she's in. And Bob's left to reflect on a crazy day.
I had never tied anything to a lamppost. I've never roped anything off a city street. Pretty much nothing I had done that day was normal.
Whether holiday gifts will be delivered on time still remains unknown. The cowboy rode in and wrapped up the capture of that festive felon easily. In Seoul, South Korea, a pair of performing pachyderms are giving folks in a restaurant a harder time. An elephant in evening wear decides to crash a party at a local restaurant. Already inside is Dumbo's date, holding down a table for two. Tonight's special, rump roast. A weirded out waitress manages to squeeze past the hard-pressed pair, but she isn't sticking around to take their order. What's an elephant gotta do to get some peanuts around here? Finally, the elephant's overdressed entourage steps in to get the animals under control and takes them back to a parade in progress at the local zoo. Let's hope they left a tip. Not every animal fugitive is willing to come quietly. Sometimes would-be captors have to go out on a limb to bring a standoff to an end. It's a cold January morning in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Little Falls, New Jersey. Renee Roloff is at home when she's startled by a strange noise.
I was upstairs and I could hear commotion of people, so I looked out the window.
A crowd of people is pointing at a tree in Renee's yard.
It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
She follows the direction of their stares.
And I could, sure enough, see there was a big bear in the tree.
Renee Roloff can't believe what's lurking in the backyard of her Little Falls home. Wanted, black bear. Black bears live in forests and as such are adept climbers. But this four-pawed perpetrator has picked the wrong perch.
It's the basically only wooded area I'd see a house on in Little Falls.
However, the bumbling bear doesn't seem concerned by his precarious position. With the bear looking unlikely to budge, the authorities are called. Wildlife expert Bob Erickson is quickly on the scene.
As soon as we exited the vehicle, we were able to look into the backyard here, and the bear was in a tree about 25 feet off the ground.
At close quarters, Bob makes a shocking discovery. The bear is tagged.
This bear did have a rap sheet. She had, in October of '97, broken into a dining hall at a camp.
Back on the loose, the cuddly culprit is going up in the world.
Between the time we got here and the time we loaded up and were ready to shoot, the bear had gone much higher in the tree.
Man, he looks like he's over the house.
And the higher it climbs, the higher the stakes.
There's still an element of danger and a public safety hazard, and you have to control it. You just have to control it.
Bob is left with just one option.
Loaded up the dart and got ready to go. Tried to find the best place to position myself for a good shot.
A direct hit could send the unconscious bear into a free fall. So he needs to employ one vital tool.
We elected to use the net that the fire department supplied. And we had 12 able-bodied firemen that were willing to hold the net up.
Renee can't believe the scene unfolding in her backyard.
I felt like this is what you see in a cartoon. Men standing with a big giant trampoline to save somebody or something.
But this bear is no tame teddy. With everyone in place and the net secured, Bob moves in to take a shot.
It does take a little time. There's a little nervousness, a little moment of panic on our part to make sure it gets done properly and get a clear shot at the bear.
Everyone looks to the skies. He readies, aims, and fires.
Fortunately, the dart hit the bear.
But will the bear hit the ground, or will the firemen save it?
We could tell that the bear was beginning to be influenced by the drug. She was starting to chomp her mouth a little bit, and you could hear her claws having a difficulty gripping. So she was losing traction.
Just like that, she lets go.
She kind of fell over backwards and almost did a somersault, and her forelegs and hind legs were flailing on the way to the ground.
This is one big fall in Little Falls.
It's a high-velocity free fall. It's just like parachuting out of an airplane. It doesn't take very long, in a tenth of a second.
And the bear just hit the ground with a bang, really hard.
There was just a hush over the crowd.
The bear has made it down, but bypassed the safety net. However, the rough landing has shaken it out of its slumber, and the firemen scram.
Guys, get out of here. Move! Move!
If I saw 300 pounds of flying fur falling down towards my head, I would run in the opposite direction also.
Because now the arboreal beast is starting to stir. In a matter of seconds, it's up, with the dart visibly lodged in its rump.
But she still had enough ability to get around that she was able to get on her feet, stumble a little bit, and then run a short distance.
But after a few steps, the tranquilizer kicks in.
She settled in there, and the drug took effect. It's kind of that moment where you can just say, okay, I think we have this thing settled out.
Down and out, he confirms the bear is not injured, and with the help of the other officers, carries her into a cage. After months on the run, this bear is in the slammer.
I would say it is a definite day I'll never forget. One of many, but this one in particular.
A big bump woke the sleeping behemoth from its slumber. In West Jordan, Utah, a prod from cops sends another creature mad. Blitzen, a bird dog, has cornered something under his owner's car. But it isn't a squirrel or an alley cat. It's a cougar. This lounging lion seems content to let its canine companion do guard dog duty.
It's a day when the dog lies down with the lion.
That is, until animal control tries to tranquilize it. They give the undercover cat a jab with a big stick. And it takes it out on Pooch with a southpaw to the snout. Poor puppy. He retreats tail between his legs after a few good licks. The warning is clear. Mess with this alley cat at your own peril. But animal control aren't giving in. Ready, aim, forget about it. This kitty isn't going quietly. He gives them the slip. But this game of cat and mouse isn't over yet. Animal control officers find this feline's hideout in a window well. Gotcha. The cantankerous cougar might have taken a chunk out of the poor Pooch. But now he's out for the count, allowing animal control officers to safely relocate him back to the Utah wilderness. Amazing escapes, supercharged chases, and unexpected standoffs. This is what happens when wild creatures escape and become animal fugitives.